This is Roman Micah, your road and driver examiner, and today we're going to be talking about technology. It used to be in the old days that cars had hood ornaments, big grills, thin tires, an engine, and maybe some adequate brakes. Not anymore. Today's new cars are just stuffed with technology, and this 2009 Jaguar XF is a great example of that because it comes with some of the latest and greatest technology that I've seen in many cars. But before we get to that, let me just a quick word about the grille, which has the Jaguar on it, which is called the Growler. The Jaguar comes with two hood ornaments, the Growler, which is a growling Jaguar, and of course the Leaper, which is leaping Jaguar. And today about the only Leaper you're going to get with the Jaguar is this one right here, which is the one on your keychain. There's also one in the back, but no more Leaper on the hood. Anyway, come with me and let's check out the technology in this car. The first thing you notice when you get up to the car is that there's no more keyhole. There are no more keys because the key right now is in my pocket. And of course, this car, like many new cars today, has a proximity sensor which knows that the key is in my pocket. So all I have to do is walk up to the car, grab the door handle, pull, and the car unlocks itself. Like many modern cars, the Jaguar no longer needs a key. Instead, it has a start-stop button. You'll see there's no place to put a key. The fob is actually in my pocket. The way I know it's ready to go is because the start-stop button is throbbing red like a heartbeat. You can see it right here. And for me to start the car, all I have to do is put my finger on the button and push the button. What happens next is kind of the biggest party trick this car has to offer. The vents open, the air conditioning comes on, the on-screen turns on, and this car is ready to go. If I want to start the car, the next thing I do, let me turn the air off for a second here. The next thing I do is I put my foot on the brake, I push the button all the way down this time, the car starts, and the gear selector knob comes up. Now I'm ready to engage reverse or drive and drive away. Now the Jaguar folks, engineers, have done a great job in packaging this so that most of the main functions of the car are right in front of me, which means that I can control my radio from right here, I can control my cooling from right here, and then everything else is controlled by the screen, which is trouble. And the reason it's trouble is because there's something like 15 different pages that I can scroll through, and subpages and subpages and subpages, which means that if I want to get to something specific, I better know how to operate the system. And I can tell you from personal experience that somebody like my mom would have a very difficult time just trying to figure out how to change the temperature. Now, one of the great things about this Jaguar is that the screen has a home button, which means that if I push home, it returns back to the main screen, which is great because sometimes I get lost, and as you can tell, it's kind of slow and that can be a pain. But one of the things that really bothers me about cars like this is that sometimes technology tries to outthink me, and I'll give you an example of that. If I turn on the radio in this car and I put it in reverse, what ends up happening is that the car beeps to let me know if there's a car in front of me or behind me, basically a parking assist function. However, the car decides that that beeping is more important, so it turns down the radio, which means I can't listen to my tune. So let's give it a try, and I'll show you what I mean. Radio on. There we go. We got the radio on. I'm going to put the selector in reverse. And all of a sudden, the radio gets turned down and the beeping starts. I'm reversing. Here I go. I'm in reverse, which is great. I can hear the beeping. I got the backup camera showing me that there's nothing behind me, which is another great safety feature that many new cars now have. But I want to listen to the tunes, frankly, and I can't because this car won't let me. So let me put it in drive. There we go. Drive. Now we're going to go forward. Let's listen to the radio, guys. I want to hear. Let me play, 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 please. Finally, the radio comes back on. I think that there's a way to change that. I'm sure that there's a way to change that in the settings of the car. But frankly, I don't have the patience to scroll through 15 menus to figure out how to make the radio turn on when I'm backing up. And that's just one of those kinds of features that can be very frustrating, especially to somebody who's, let's say, technologically challenged. Some other interesting features about this Jaguar are these touch-sensitive controls, kind of taken from an old Bang & Olufsen stereo system. If you want to open the glove compartment, the way you do it is push this little button right there, push the little button, and as you can tell, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's another frustrating thing about a car that has too much technology. Same thing for the little overhead lights. If I run my finger up across these, they turn on, and of course, if I run my finger the other way, they turn off. Great when it works, frustrating when it doesn't. The reason we're talking about all this technology is because, quite frankly, Jaguar bet the farm on this car. The model that this car replaces, the S-Type, was not a great car. It looked backwards in terms of styling and performance. Jaguar looked to its heritage and came out with a car that was what they consider typically English, which to a lot of people meant slow, ungainly. I drove that car. I was not impressed. when Jaguar built the new XF, they looked forward. They stuffed it with technology. They made it a car for the 21st or 23rd century, not a car dating back to the 1950s. But, all that is kind of irrelevant because it's really about how a car drives. So let me give you a sense for what this car drives like, because I think that this car drives very, very well. I love the feel of the car. I love the sound of the engine, and hopefully you're going to see that as well as we take this car for a ride. So let me put the futuristic gear selector in drive. Right there, and let's check the rearview mirror and get on the road. And I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you listen to the engine as we accelerate down this mountain road. I'm going to try to avoid all the cat-like stuff that you can say about this car, but it really does handle well. Like, you can't probably tell going around this corner, but I can really feel it working. It just takes these corners with an ease that transcends what you'd think a big, and we'll use a British word, saloon is capable of. It feels light, it feels lively, it hugs the corners, and at the same time the ride is supple. A lot of the German cars that this competes with, like the 5 Series and the E-Type, have a ride that'll just knock the kidneys out of you. But not this car. This car, you can almost sense where the wheels are. You point the wheel, that's where the car goes. Hitting an apex of a turn, not all that hard. Really, really an interesting car. And at the end of the day, it's not about technology, but it's about how the car drives. And this car, at least in my book, is a real winner.